You know how dissonant is a word that gets thrown around easily and quickly these days? I was thinking about that because before doing the analysis of the piece today, I wanted to play a snippet from it, the very beginning, and what I'm wondering is whether you find this to be at all dissonant, whatever that means. I don't know about you, but to my ears, this is pretty harsh. I would definitely call this dissonant. And that's me in 2020. You can imagine this is almost 250 years ago, 1785, when Mozart wrote this as the opening of one of six quartets that he dedicated to his friend Joseph Haydn, the other great composer of the time. And you can imagine that it immediately caused a stir, and it was dubbed the Dissonant Quartet right away, and that's how we know it today. This is Mozart's Dissonant Quartet. And Haydn himself, later on, when he needed to create a sense of chaos in music, he quoted this opening and used ideas from it. But I was thinking to look into this piece today and see how that harshness and that dissonance reconciles with classical harmony and what the harmony behind it is, the structure of it. So I'll go to the piano now, but the heads up is that I'll be reading from the score, and the viola part is written in the alto clef. So be careful there, that central line is a C. So it starts the cello by itself, and the others will be joining one by one. And this is part of what makes the texture very unsettling and puzzling. Things are building up, and you know something is coming, but you don't know quite what. And on top of that, the first chord that's built is not even the chord of tonic. So if the cello had insinuated C minor with that lone C, then that first chord is not the chord of C minor, it's a chord of A flat. In first inversion, A flat would be 6 in the key of C minor, but 6 is a chord that usually would appear in root position. Here we have it in first inversion, so that adds to the sense of alienness of a passage. This is in fact what Haydn would quote in the Chaos movement. In any case, it's on the background of that A flat chord that the first violin comes in with that very surprising and harsh A natural. What's going on is that there is a note, the A flat, that is being inflected into A natural. That's why it's called chromatic inflection. But that inflection happens across two different voices. That's called a false relation, and it's usually avoided precisely for this reason, because it's an unprepared dissonance. It's just too harsh. It's not warranted by the motion of the lines. So those of us who've been in harmony class would get bad grades for something like this, the false relation. In this case, that's obviously exactly what Mozart is after, that unprepared, shocking dissonance. Let me in fact play it without a false relation, and you'll see how the progression is much milder. So what I'll do is the A flat, I'll turn it into an A natural, but in the same voice, in the viola voice. So nothing out of the ordinary. In this piece, Mozart went for the false relation and that shocking unprepared dissonance, and that builds up this chord, which is certainly a dissonant chord, but it's not one that is out of the ordinary itself. This would be the chord of A half diminished, so it's a diminished triad of A plus a minor seventh, and it's all in first inversion. This chord occurs naturally in any minor key as 2. The chord of 2 in any minor key gives you half diminished. And if A is 2, then that would mean that our key is G. In that case, if that's right, then we would be going to the dominant. Some kind of dominant, because 2 works as a subdominant chord. So we would be expecting a dominant to go to tonic. What happens in the piece? Let's see. And in fact, yes, this is a dominant. So far so good in G minor. Does that dominant get resolved? It gets resolved here after a slight delay and a couple of additional dissonances. But it is a resolution. It's just that the A is delaying its resolution in the first violin. That's called the suspension. And then the second violin is ornamenting that D with a C sharp that's on the strong beat and everything that makes it even more dissonant. But it's simply what's called a chromatic neighbor to the D. Other than that, this is a perfectly normal progression. We had a 2-6-5 that went to a 5, and that 5 resolves. We can even go farther back and read the A flat chord as the Neapolitan. A flat major in first inversion is exactly the Neapolitan that you would expect in G minor. And even you can go one further back and treat the C chord, the implied C chord, as 4 in G, and that could be our pivot chord. So it's a perfectly normal progression in G minor, 4, Neapolitan, 2-6-5, 5-2, 1-6. All obscured by different manipulations in the voice leading and so on, but this is what's going on in the structure. After that, then there's some scalar motives in the viola. The second violin joins, and eventually even the first violin and the cello do scalar motion. That's all just prolongations of that G triad, eventually turning into a G minor when the violin has that B flat. But even here, this is just prolongation of that G. Now we would be expecting a resolution here, but Mozart goes to B flat. Again, nothing out of the ordinary. That last 7 chord in G was read as a 7 in B flat, and now we're in B flat minor. And on that, texture resumes as in the opening. And yeah, same harsh false relation, everything seems the same. It is a transposition, exact transposition. That cadence that was originally in G, now it's in F, and we even have the scalar motion and the tail at the end by cello and first violin. The only thing is that this time the progression actually confirms that key that we had arrived at, the F. These two phrases are what I actually wanted to focus on. If you are curious what happens in the rest of this introduction, check out the video with the extra footage for this piece. But it's these phrases at the very beginning that are the most intriguing and that I was most curious about. I think we found out that the harmony behind them is actually fairly simple and standard after all. It's not harmony that's creating the harsh dissonance and this weird atmosphere of tonal meandering and doubt, but rather the contrapuntal handling on the surface with the false relation and the delayed resolutions and so on. This piece is reminding me of a prelude by Chopin that also sounds on the surface really atonal and dissonant and not clear. So I might do a video on that piece. It's the prelude in A minor. Hit subscribe, send your suggestions for pieces or songs to analyze. And thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.